Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies as we begin with part 1, The Testimony of Washington, from Book the Third, The Testimony, from the Mystic Tie by Albert G. Mackey. Book the Third, The Testimony. I propose, in a portion of the remaining pages of this work, to produce the testimonies of some of the most eminent and virtuous men to the character of the institution of Freemasonry. Facts and reasoning have already been alluded to prove the excellency of its design. Their contributions of the wise and good will be another and an important link in the chain of defense which this work is intended to frame. Part 1. The Testimony of Washington. My spirits, sire, are raised, thus to be praised by the one the world has praised. Masons love to dwell on the fact that the illustrious father of his country was a brother Mason. They feel that under the panoply of his great name, they may securely bid defiance to the bitter charges of malignity. They know that the world is conscious that Washington, to quote the language of Clinton, would not have encouraged an institution hostile to morality, religion, good order, and the public welfare. Many testimonies of the good opinion entertained by Washington of the Masonic Society, of which he had been a member from early life, are on record. A few, however, will suffice to demonstrate that Freemasons do not boast too much when they claim him as the undeviating friend and adherent of the institution. In answer to a complimentary address, when President of the United States, from the offices and members of King David's Lodge in Rhode Island, he said, being persuaded that a just application of the principles on which the Masonic fraternity is founded must be promotive of private virtue and public prosperity, I shall always be happy to advance the interest of the society and to be considered by them a deserving brother. In 1792, the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts dedicated to him its Book of Constitutions, and in replying to the communication of the fact, he still more distinctly announced his favorable opinion of Freemasonry in the following sentences. Flattering as it may be to the human mind, and truly honorable as it is, to receive from our fellow citizens testimony of approbation for exertions to promote the public welfare, it is not less pleasing to know that the milder virtues of the heart are highly respected by a society whose liberal principles are founded on the immutable laws of truth and justice. To enlarge the sphere of social happiness is worthy of the beautiful design of the Masonic institution, and it is most fervently to be wished that the conduct of every member of the fraternity, as well as those publications that discover the principles which actuate them, may tend to convince mankind that the grand object of Masonry is to promote the happiness of the human race, that our beloved brother continued through his life to entertain these favorable opinions of the Masonic institution will be evident from the following expression contained in a reply made by him to the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts in April 1798, not 3 years before his death. My attachment, he says, to the society of which we are members would dispose me always to contribute my best endeavors to promote the honor and interest of the craft. For the following explicit expression of what may be supposed to be the last published opinion of Washington as to the character of the Masonic institution, we are indebted to the researches of Charles Gilman, Esquire, Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Maryland. It is to be found in an extract from a letter written to the Grand Lodge of Maryland on the 8th November, 1798, only 13 months before his death. The original is contained in the archives of that body, and a copy has lately been published for the first time in Moore's Freemasons Monthly Magazine, Volume 7, page 359. The letter commences as follows. Gentlemen and brothers, Your obliging and affectionate letter, together with a copy of the Constitution of Masonry, has been put into my hands by your Grand Master, for which I pray you to accept my best thanks. So far as I am acquainted with the principles and doctrines of Freemasonry, I conceive them to be founded in benevolence and to be exercised only for the good of mankind. I cannot, therefore, upon this ground, withdraw my approbation from it. General Washington cultivated Masonry with sedulous attention. While Commander-in-Chief of the Army, he countenanced the establishment and encouraged the labors of traveling lodges among the military, considering them as schools of urbanity, well calculated to disseminate those mild virtues of the heart which are so ornament to the human character, and so peculiarly fitted to alleviate the miseries of war. And, notwithstanding the engrossing cares of his high station, he found frequent opportunities of visiting the lodges and practicing in the labors of the craft. The Honorable Timothy Bigelow delivered a eulogy on the character of Washington before the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts on the 11th of February, 1800, and at that period so near the date of his death, when authentic information could easily be obtained and when it is scarcely probable that an erroneous statement of so important a nature would willfully be made, Bigelow asserts, on authority of members of Washington's own lodge, that he died the master of a lodge. Bigelow's language is as follows. The information received from our brethren, who had the happiness to be members of the lodge over which he presided for many years, and of which he died the master, furnishes us abundant proof of his persevering zeal for the prosperity of the institution, constant and punctual in his attendance, and solicitous at all times to communicate light and instruction. He discharged the duties of the chair with uncommon dignity and intelligence in all the mysteries of our art. Washington was initiated into the mysteries of Freemasonry on the 4th of November, 1752, in Fredericksburg, in Virginia. He received his second degree on the 3rd of March and his third on the 4th of August in the following year. This appears from the Ledger or Record Book of the Lodge, from which Brother Moore made the following extract when on a visit to Washington in 1848 to assist in the ceremonies of laying the cornerstone of the Washington Monument. November 4, 5752. Received of Mr. George Washington, for his entrance, £23. March 3rd, 5753, George Washington passed fellow craft. August 4, 5753, George Washington raised Master Mason. At Alexandria, Virginia, is contained the original warrant of Constitution of Lodge number 22, of which we have the right to presume Washington was the first master, from the fact that his name is first mentioned in the list of brethren to whom the warrant was granted. Masonic usage authorizes the inference that he must have been the first master of this lodge, and the testimony of Bigelow, already recorded, leaves no doubt of his having passed the chair. Moore gives the following extract from this interesting document, which he copied some years ago from the original. I, Edward Rudolph, Governor of the State and Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Virginia, do here, by constitute and appoint our illustrious and well-beloved brother, George Washington, late General and Commander-in-Chief of the Forces of the United States of America, and our worthy brothers, McCrae, William Hunter, Jr., and John Allison, Esquire, together with all such other brethren as may be admitted to associate with them, to be a just, true, and regular lodge of Freemasons, by the name, title, and designation of the Alexandrian Lodge, number 22. The name of this lodge was changed in 1805 to that of Washington Alexandria Lodge. It is still in active operation and occupied a distinguished place in the ceremonial of laying the cornerstone of the Washington Monument on the 4th of July, 1848. These testimonials of the Masonic life and opinions of the father of his country, are of inestimable value to the defense of the institution. They demonstrate, to use the language of Brother Moore, beyond controversy, his attachment to the institution, the high esteem in which he held its principles, his conviction of its ability to promote private virtue and public prosperity, and they place beyond all doubt his disposition always to contribute his best endeavors to promote the honor and interest of the craft, a disposition which he continued to manifest, and, on all proper occasions, to avow to the latest period of his life. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.